Hi, welcome to the Mystery Recap. Today, I am going to explain the psychological horror film The Night House. A woman named Beth is shown at the beginning of the film. And we came to know that he is in depression. Beth is shown drinking all night. And then falls asleep watching her wedding video. When she sleeps, she misses her husband. And she wants to be with him. Just then someone knocks on the main door and he sees a reflection in the mirror. But there was no one there. The next scene shows Beth. When she wakes up, she realizes she was probably dreaming. And it is shown that Beth is a professional teacher. She agrees to go to her school as today was the parent-teacher meeting. Here a woman comes to him who was the mother of his student and asks Beth why did she give her son a C grade. And Beth tells him that he didn't submit the assignment. And that's why he got a C grade. But lady says my son came with assignment but you were not here. And Beth apologizes to the woman and gives her son a B grade. But the woman wants an A grade for her son. And Beth tells him that my husband took his own life last Thursday. Hearing this, the woman becomes silent. Next, Beth is shown at her home. And she was looking at her husband's diary. On this, her husband has made a sketch of a house. And it was near a lake. Beth notices that she has sketched several rivers. Like it was a mirror image. Beth doesn't understand anything and falls asleep holding the diary back. The next morning, his music system plays automatically. She checks the phone and receives a message from Owen. And meanwhile, a voice was heard. When she looks near the window, she finds her husband. He was standing near the lake house and then Beth woke up. It turns out that maybe Beth was dreaming. And she gets scared of that dream. Then she checks her husband's phone after charging it. But he did not get any message. Now she checks the phone gallery and finds a picture of a girl. This is taken from a side pose. And that girl looked like him. She then goes to her friend and shows him the picture. And her friend says maybe it's you, but Beth says I don't have clothes like that. Then her friend Claire tells her to leave it all and reminisce on the good times she had with her husband. Maybe he was cheating on you. Later, Beth and her friend go to a bar and get drunk. And Beth's friend comes to drop her home. And Beth tells him a story. He had an accident at the age of 17. His car fell into the ditch. And his lungs burst and his heart stopped beating for about 4 minutes. But the doctors somehow saved her and Beth fell asleep while narrating the story. Then suddenly his music system starts playing loudly. Beth wakes up in horror and then learns that she is alone at home. And she screams and says whatever it is, it comes in front. She saw some girls coming and jumping into the lake. Beth checked with a light, but there was nothing there. Then she sees another house. He was on the other side of the lake. But she immediately disappears from there and then someone whispers in her ear. She boldly heads towards the boat. There are blood-soaked footprints and she learns that her husband's spirit is all around her. And as soon as she tries to touch him, she faints. And when she wakes up, she finds herself on the other side of the lake. There was a house like hers and she sees girls like her in different rooms. She is with her husband Owen. But when Beth enters the house, she wakes up. And she was inside her house in the real world. She believed that it was not a dream to happen to her. But it is a supernatural force. She charged her husband's phone and found pictures of several girls. The Larkin girls looked like him. Then she goes to the other side of the lake to investigate. His neighbor meets him near the forest and forbids him to go into the forest alone. But she does not listen to her neighbor and goes there. Beth sees a house in the woods. And it was like his home. But it was in worse shape. When he enters the house, he finds a doll. There were many pins inside it. Seeing this, it was confirmed that it could be some kind of black magic. And she again goes to her neighbor's house and asks him why is he refusing her. You probably know something about my husband. And you have some knowledge of his satanic works. And her neighbor tells her that she has seen her husband with a girl in that house. He didn't tell her anything about it because his life could be spoiled because of that. Beth returns home and sees her husband's things. He got 2 books, one of them was the Book of Black Magic. After reading the book, Beth did not understand anything and threw the doll in anger. The doll that he got from the jungle house. But even after falling, the doll remains upright. Suddenly, Beth hears voices from the upper floor. When she investigates, she finds the spirit of a man there. When she sees him, he turns his head towards her. And seeing him, she gets scared. The next day, Beth goes to the bookstore where those books were bought. She sees the same girl in the bookstore whose picture she saw on her husband's phone. She asks the woman about her husband, but she is shocked to hear this. The woman tells him that maybe she knows her husband. But they have no relation. Later, Beth goes to her friend. And she tells him everything. And this is happening with him for the last few days. Her friend, after hearing this, tells her to stop thinking about your husband Owen. Now he is dead. Beth returns home at night and the woman comes to visit him. The woman he saw in the bookstore. She tells him that she does not know her husband well. They were just good friends. The woman told that her husband loved her very much. Saying this, the woman leaves. And Beth drinks wine and goes to the other side of the lake. Here, she tries to summon the spirit of her husband. But she did not come, and then her foot slips. When he looked down from the torch, there were many dead bodies. Beth gets scared seeing them. Beth runs away in fear. And runs away from her house thinking that Owen can't do this. And crying remembers her husband. Then she senses a presence there and Beth notices, "Here" written in the washroom mirror. Beth goes there and she thinks it might be her husband's spirit. And the spirit was feeling Beth too. But suddenly there is a whispering and Beth immediately gives up the spirit. Beth tries to get outside, but the washroom door automatically closes. She looks at a girl in the mirror as she and her husband are beating her. Meanwhile, a spirit grips Beth's neck. And it hits him with the door and the door opens. Later, Beth goes to her bedroom and sees the spirits of several girls there. They were trying to hide. Beth again sees her husband beating up the girl. Beth notices that there is another spirit with her. She takes him to another room. It takes Beth to the place where her husband has committed the murders. At last, she saw that she had placed her head on her husband's lap. Someone whispers again in her husband's ear. And he tries to press her neck. But he could not. Beth asks Chaya, "Who are you?" Chaya says, "I am nothing. You made me feel the last time you had an accident. But you somehow escaped at that time and the real thing came out here. This shadow was none other than Death." And when Beth survived the accident, Death had been following Beth ever since. He wants to take her away from there. But her husband saves her time and again. And to forget the way of Death, her husband has built a house of glass. And he used to bring girls like Beth there. He used to finish those girls after whispering Death. Basically, Death wants Owen to get Beth killed. Beth's husband was dodging Death. Finally, Death is shown enslaved Beth's spirit. Because Death could not end Beth here. He has to take his own life. Then it can end his soul. Beth's soul was still torn between death and life. Death as husband tries to persuade her. So that Beth will feel that her life is worthless. And in that case she will shoot herself. After this, she was really about to take her own life, but then her friend comes. She tries to wake Beth by screaming. Beth hears her friend's voice in another world. Then he comes to his senses. She sees that she is sitting in the boat with a gun in the morning. His friend comes on a floating boat and takes him to the shore. Here we find out why Beth's husband died. He has understood that death will put an end to his wife. Therefore, he committed suicide. He didn't want to end his wife, so he avoided her. He loved Beth very much. Then his neighbor also comes there. He asks Beth what happened to him. Beth says, "I don't know what happened to me." Meanwhile, they sense the presence of a spirit near the boat. And here the film ends.